When an avoidant ex realizes you're happier without them, these are the 5 things that you tend to see happen. The first is that their control narrative shatters. What this essentially is that they assume that you would always wait, beg, or stay stuck in this avoidant attachment trap. They believe this because up until this point, you have been the one doing everything in your power to try to make this relationship work. And instead of them seeing this as a testament to your commitment and love and willingness to do whatever you can to work this out, they look at this as an opportunity to continue to be this avoidant attachment style without having to do anything about resolving that. So because of that, they become accustomed to this and believe that this is how it's always going to be. But when they see that you are at peace and not bothered by this, this shatters this ego part of them that believes that this is going to happen, and they don't know how to respond to this because this is uncharted waters. And if we can remember, when it comes to an avoidant, they are always trying to maintain some type of control over every situation because that's how they continue this facade that they have control over everything, so that they don't have to feel any unwanted emotions or deal with any conflicts that may come up. The second thing that you tend to see happening is that their delayed grief activates. When it comes to an avoidant, they don't process the pain in real time like other people would when they don't have this type of attachment. And the reason why this is the case is because an avoidant will try to do everything that they possibly can to distract themselves and try to push down all of those emotions that they essentially don't want to feel. And they do a really good job at doing that for a while, but instances like this causes that to no longer work, and it inevitably causes all of those emotions to be flooded within them all at once. So because of this, they're starting to in real time realize the magnitude of losing someone like you, because contrary to belief, they actually do want you in their life. It's due to this avoidant attachment style and not having a healthy model on how to have a healthy relationship with someone that they are constantly pushing you away whenever it's time for them to express some more deep emotions or whenever you're trying to do the same to them. So in this moment, again, they are going to have to realize this and feel all of those emotions that are naturally going to come up, which will cause them to potentially maybe even try to reach out to you because they don't know how to process this, and they're in a fight or flight mode and trying to do everything that they possibly can to try to no longer have to feel those emotions coming up. The third thing that you tend to see happen is that they will try to indirectly find ways to see what is going on with you. What they're trying to do here is that they're trying to quietly check in without having to directly have you know this. And they'll do this in ways like checking your stories, or maybe reaching out to mutuals that you guys have, or even creating fake accounts to essentially get some type of access to you. And their attempt here is to try to help themselves feel better about you essentially being away from them and being happy, because they're trying to ease the part of them that is actually seeing things for what they are and realizing that you are moving on, and they don't want to accept that, although it seems like everything that they're doing up until this point is pointing to the exact opposite. But again, it's due to their avoidant attachment style that's causing them to want to push away from you. But whenever that's able to calm down and they're finally able to work through this, they do want to try to have an opportunity to come back to you and resume the relationship as if nothing has happened. But seeing you in this state of being is a clear sign that this might not be a reality to them. So they want to again try to use this as a way to help them feel better and not have to deal with the real raw emotions that they're feeling of losing someone like you in their life. So with this, they want to know if your glow up is real or if it's just a front. And that's why it's important, like I've said in so many of my videos, that when you are trying to glow up or move on, that you're actually doing it from a place of legitimacy for yourself, because an avoidant is going to read through that. Even if you are trying to fake it, they know what that will look like. And on top of that, you should always be doing this for yourself and never with the motivation of trying to get someone to realize something, because it's always going to fail on you, because you can't control how they're going to respond to that, and that's not a healthy way for you to be motivated to want to do this. But all in all, when we're looking at it from this vantage point, that's essentially what they're trying trying to gain is some kind of insight into what is really going on with you and if you are legitimately happy and moving on from them. The fourth thing is that they get emotionally triggered by your detachment. Your neutrality feels like abandonment to them, and I don't mean this in a sense to try to make you feel guilty or concerned, because at the end of the day, this is due to them, but they feel like this because they're not used to somebody just pushing away from them, especially when it comes to you, because again, you have been the one who has always been engaged and giving 110% to the relationship, so they've grown accustomed to that, and whenever you finally don't do that anymore, this is something that causes that abandonment trigger to come up for them, and it reverts back to every person who has essentially abandoned them or not met their emotional needs, and it causes them to essentially start to go into this fight or flight mode where they're realizing this in real time and they're having a reaction to that. Their emotional brain will read this as rejection, and this is something that an avoidant wants to avoid because they can't control rejection, right? They do not want that because that means that you are essentially moving on, and that tends to be something that they have gone through many times when they were younger due to their caregiver not meeting their emotional needs and rejecting them in their own ways. So it's understandable to have some empathy for them here, knowing this in their history, but at the end of the day, we also have to hold them accountable because you have showed up in the relationship in so many different ways, and you've been patient and you've tried to do everything in your power to get them to realize how this avoidant attachment style has really been the problem this whole time, and if they just would work with you little by little, you guys can be in a better place to where the relationship could work. So with that, they essentially have to understand that, and although they're going through this and it's a lot to do with this avoidant attachment style and it's hard for them in real time to understand that, it's still something that they are aware of to some degree, and they have to begin to want to actually work on that to figure out what they can do to heal from this so that they can show up in a relationship the way that you know that they can, and also they know that they can and want to. And the last thing that you tend to see happen is that they rethink everything that has been going on. Regret tends to be what comes up here and what starts to set in for them, especially when they realize that you are leveling up without them, because an avoidant tells themselves things like they can find you in another person and that you need them, whatever it might be, so that they can feel comfortable with pushing away and essentially continuing this avoidant attachment style. And this is due to this attachment style wanting to continue to run, because when it comes to our brains, it wants to protect us both from physical threats and emotional threats. And whenever we adopt a way of being that is really unhealthy, but to our brains is an actual good thing to protect us from some unwanted emotions or feelings or bad experiences that we've had, even though we know on the surface level that this is not a healthy way of being, the brain thinks for that person that this is the only way and we have to continue to be that way. And it will only break out of that once that person sees and recognizes how this has been an unhealthy way to kind of approach things, and then they start to work on this with a professional like a therapist to unravel why they feel the way they need to show up in this way and actually begin to heal from that. But even with all of this going on, what you will tend to see happening is that an avoidant still will not reach out and express all of these emotions, because this is due to them not wanting to show their vulnerability, and on top of that, they don't want to run the risk that you are going to reject them because they don't know how you are going to respond, and nobody does really, right? But when it comes to an avoidant, they really do not want to go down that path because this will cause them to spiral even more with that rejection due to how rejection has perceived to them as a huge no-no, because it's going to cause all of these emotions to come up that they don't want to feel. So this tends to be why even after all of these things, an avoidant won't reach out to you or try to talk through these things to see see if there's a way of them trying to work things out. And this is where you have to really understand this, because I know that there's a part of you after even hearing all of this that still wants to give this relationship a chance and hold on to the potential of what it could be. And I admire you for that, and it makes sense why you feel that way. But at the end of the day, you have to really sit back and look at things and ask yourself, what more can you do here? You did everything that you possibly could in the relationship to try to get this person to realize that, even after the breakup as well, and they simply did not get there at this point. And the honest truth is that this avoidant needs to be away from the relationship and hopefully understand the consequences of continuing to allow this avoidant attachment style to run without them doing anything to try to work on it, and start to actually want to work on it and seek help professionally. And that's important, because this is something that is going to continuously happen over and over again until they are able to work through that, right? So this is something that you really have to be real with yourself and be honest here, because you could continue to keep going through this cycle over and over and over again, thinking that there's hope and there's a chance for this to work, and they just simply don't ever get to that point. Again, I'm not here to say that every avoidant is the same and nobody can change, because that's not the case. Every single person in this world can change if they want to. But that's the key. They have to want to do it, and they have to stay committed to it. And there's nothing that you can do that's going to force them into doing this. They have to do this on their own. And what you can do, though, and what you always can do, is put yourself first and figuring out what is best for you. I hope that you did enjoy today's video. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.